Hi, I'm Selina,
And I'm Rachel.
and we are Reaching for Roots.
And today we're going to talk about what it actually means to do something with your opinions.
Yes, because as we discussed last time, having opinions is easy. Doing something with them, not so much. So what sort of things do we have to do with our opinions, Rachel? What kind of decisions do we have to make on a normal day?
Well, do you want to talk about our upcoming event and we can kind of go through the whole process of how that planning and then action actually looks like?
You mean the event that we started talking about planning like back in January or February, and it's now April, and we're still trying to figure out how to get it done in the next few weeks?
Yeah, that one.
That one? Yeah. And the process of just trying to pull off an engagement event or any kind of event, getting board members together, getting volunteers together, anything where you have to get people together to do something. I mean, heck, it took us like a month to get the last podcast out because we kept having conflicts. One of us was sick, and then the other one had an appointment, and yeah, life gets in the way of the best opinions and the best plans. You want to give them a little bit of context on the project at 403 West 2nd Street in Oil City.
Sure. So we have a blighted house in Oil City that was donated to Polari Foundation, and we are working on fixing it up, renovating, roof repairs, all of that kind of stuff that needs to happen to update it and get it usable again.
Yeah. We took the project on because the house has good bones. Mm-hmm. If you're interested, the very first video we ever uploaded to YouTube is kind of a walkthrough of that property and around the block.
It's a beautiful historic house.
It's a beautiful house. It would have been like a mid-level bank manager's house in the Victorian era. So, pretty big house, great bones. It's not falling apart. There's just cosmetic damage. So we took it on. Works moved slower. We were very optimistic at first. I think our sign says aiming for completion by the end of 2025. It's April 2026, and we're almost done with all the demolition and interior tear out work that needs to be done. Again, funding kind of like disappeared last year. So what's she gonna do? But we're working on that project as we can. But with this particular event, how would you describe to people who are not in our line of work, what are we trying to accomplish with an event like this?
Well, the event is kind of two parts. So we'll have a work part where we're going to do cleanup and, pulling stuff out of the yard that needs to go, and there's a porch that's falling down that needs to come down. So the first part of the event is going to be a work thing, and then the second part will be more of a awareness, community engagement, just showing people what's going on behind the scenes, that kind of stuff.
Right. And see, this is where this kind of stuff gets fun, because the party after the work is funded through a grant, the one that we have going right now. And, you have to spend grant funds on that project. You can't intermingle.
Very specific. Yeah.
Very specific. So part of the planning process is even like, okay, what can we do over here? And where are the funds going to come from that? And then what can we do over here? And where are the funds going to come from that? The reason we don't just do them at different times is, Rachel, is it easy to get people together to do anything?
No, it is not.
We've been doing this for a while, and it is hard to get people in one space. So you maximize it when you get everybody together. So we'll be there. Some volunteers will be there. Hopefully some of the board can be there, and we can get more than one thing done. Heck, we might even get a board meeting in. We'll see. Depends on how many of them show up. But as Rachel said, we do want to get some work done while we have volunteers on hand. It's supposed to be beautiful spring weather over the next month or so. So that's where we're aiming. The weather. That's the other part that makes planning anything, whether it's just straight up project work, like if we were just going to tear down the porch, or an event. Like what happened at, remember the event we had, that wasn't last September, I think that was the one before, at the Terra Alta, which is a big project that we're hoping to be able to do at some point. Do you remember what the weather did?
Yes. It rained on us.
It rained. You can watch the weather forecast and plan it out, and you have bouncy houses, and then it's like wind and rain, and it's always fun. So there's all kinds of stuff that goes into it. And then when you try to plan the logistics, then there's what's actually going to be engaging to the people who you want to show up, right? You want volunteers to enjoy the volunteer work that they're doing, that they feel like they're doing something important and fun, right? So you'd have to try to make it a sociable environment. And then when you want the community members to come in later for the little block party type thing we're doing, you want that to be fun. I have found that if you have an event and it's not fun, you're never going to get people to another event again. There's got to be some music, maybe some food. It has to feel like a fun thing, or people just don't want to be there. And then we have to make sure that we are prepared to do the work of the grant project, which in this case is talking to folks about blight, about the blight mapping project that we're doing, why we're doing it, and get their feedback, their input on, the effect that blight has in their lives.
Yeah. Do you want to explain blight and what a blight map is?
Yes. We use these words like everybody knows what we're talking about, right? No. So blight just means a structure that is in disrepair, right? You can have light blight where it's just the paint's peeling, yard's a little overrun, right? Or you can have the places that have a hole in the roof and it's half collapsed in and 5 broken down cars in the yard, all that kind of stuff. So we've all seen blighted structures in our communities. You can't not, it's like death is a part of life. That happens in buildings too. If somebody's not constantly maintaining them, they start to decay. So we are doing a map of as much of our local area, the county, as we can, focusing on Oil City and Franklin, because there are 2 kind of biggest cities in the county. And then our office is located in Emlyn specifically, so we're getting the area in Emlenton, and then everything in between. We may have mentioned that things are really spread out in this area, so it's just going on all the little crossroads and trying to get as much as possible. And we're literally making a map of which areas are blighted, which areas have the most potential, and so that the decision makers, whether that be at the town or city level or the county level or the state level, have hard data, not just taking our word for it or somebody else's word for it, but physical data that shows, there's a checklist of what could be wrong. We give it a rating based on, is there 1 car in the yard or are there 10, right? There are those kind of things that make it objective instead of subjective. And so properties get a rating that translates into what a whole neighborhood looks like, what a whole town looks like. And then people can do something with that. What do we want people to do with that information? I mean, really, what is, you would say, our end game when it comes to this kind of research, data gathering project?
Well, we want the data to be available so that when people are looking for more funding in the future, they have something to say, this is what we have, this is what we would like to have, and they know exactly what we need and how to get there.
So do you remember when the last real estate housing ecosystem assessment was done for the county? was 2009. Just a reminder, it's now 2026. So it's been a little while. And do you think much was done since 2009?
I'm going to guess no.
I'm sure some efforts have been made. But here's the thing. When you just have a report that says stuff's bad and you need to do this, this, and this, it's kind of like, yeah, we can look around and see that there's some broken down houses and we could make improvements. But do you feel like that gives anybody a place to like start from?
No.
And so
That also doesn't give you, if you don't have your starting place, it's really hard to get the reporting at the end to go back and be like, okay, we actually did this.
Exactly. So if you don't have specifics in that early report, you know, what's the true benchmark? I mean, it's, again, it's very subjective instead of being objective. So what we're hoping here is we have this baseline set. This is a physical map of where blight exists in our communities. And then as work is able to happen, you can show like that house got fixed up, that house got fixed up. We had to tear that one down. We turned it into a pocket park, right? We can link back to the work we're doing right now.
Yeah.
And that's what we really want. It's, let's say a ripple effect is what we're hoping for. Right? We know we can't do all the work.
Yeah.
But we need this information to work smarter, and hopefully other institutions and organizations will be able to use it as well to target their work. So what do you think, you know, we talk about community wants, community needs, community engagement. Coming at it, if you can, you know, split yourself into two for a second, coming at it from just the everyday resident side of things, what would be important to you? Like if we showed up in your neighborhood, you know, what questions would you have, and what would make you scared, and what would make you feel optimistic about the work going on?
Is this specifically about blight mapping?
Yeah, we'll say for now it's specifically about blight mapping.
Okay, so let's see. I think I would be a little bit nervous thinking that this means that like we're going around judging people in their houses, which is not the case. It's really just a data thing. But yeah, I would want to know what it's being used for, who's going to be involved probably, and also like what could I expect to see in the future? Like what do you really think will be different 5 years from now, 10 years from now?
Yeah. And I would say that lines up with what we've seen with other folks who, you know, when they do have questions about this kind of stuff. So for anybody watching who does live in the area, who wants to know, what are you going to be doing with this blight mapping information? It is meant to be a tool for municipalities, county, state level folks to look at and decide, where should we invest money? What can we do that's going to make a big difference in our community? So in some places, fixing up one house, like what we're trying to do at in Oil City on the 2nd Street property, it's kind of the worst house on a reasonably good block. And so fixing up that one house is going to make a huge impact on that block. There are other places where everything's a little run down, and fixing up one house isn't going to have a ton of impact. You're going to need to do something with many of them, and so that means there needs to be a bigger investment in that. And then maybe that needs to be strategically planned so that one of those houses ends up getting torn down and turned into a park, or gets turned into a community space, right? You have to really think about what the community needs to thrive, and that's part of it. There's the measurement of blight, and then the other side of that, well, I guess we haven't even really talked about that, is the dashboard, the community resilience dashboard that we're building that goes alongside of this. The blight is one indicator in community resilience, but and you do a ton of work on that side of things. So you can remind me, what are the other indicators of community resilience that we're looking at?
We're looking at things like employment opportunities, access to, medical facilities, that kind of stuff, access to just the normal amenities, grocery stores and the gym, or just things like that, parks, outdoor spaces. Education, I think, is on there.
Yeah. And we talked last time about, sharing your opinions and finding places to do something with those opinions and all that. And this is a great place. Like, for example, if you're from our local area, please feel free to get in touch with us, even if you can't go to one of our engagement events, and let us know what's important to you. Like, hey, I love my neighborhood. I have a great view of the river, but I don't have access to, right? Those are the kind of data points that we're trying to gather. We try to talk to lots and lots and lots of people to get lots and lots and lots of perspectives. And then we just try to observe. But the more people we have who are freely, willingly sharing their perspective on this kind of stuff, the better. And that's not just for us, that's for any organization out there that's trying to help their community. They're always truly needing to know what the community actually thinks. So please don't be shy about talking to us if you're here, and if you're your own community. Again, it's important for you, it's important for them, it's important for resilience in general. And then, what do you think some of our biggest challenges are? You mentioned one of the questions that you would have is like, what's going to be done once you have all of this information? How confident would you feel answering that kind of question right now, with resources where they are and just circumstances where they are? Do you feel like you could give a definitive answer to somebody?
No, I think I would have to give like this is what I'm hoping happens.
And can I be perfectly honest? Well, I'm always going to be perfectly honest, but here's the thing. We can't be sure of what's going to happen, right? We can try our best all the time. We can do the planning. We can do the strategizing. We can do the doing as much as possible, and we still can't be sure exactly what's going to happen. And a lot of times folks don't want to hear that. I might not be satisfied if somebody else said, well, this is what I hope will happen, but I'm not sure. And I'd be like, well, maybe you haven't done your homework. So I totally understand that impulse, but that's just the reality in life.
Yeah.
Right. And we have this thing I don't know if there's a society on the planet that doesn't have it. I was going to say in American society, but this is where I live at the moment. So, where confidence is seemingly more important than truth. Say something loudly, say it with confidence, and if the circumstances change, say something else loudly with confidence, And so I will say, not loudly, because I'm not going to hurt your eardrums, but with confidence, I will say, we cannot have complete confidence about pretty much anything. We can do our best, and we can roll with the punches. But if somebody comes and asks me what's going to happen with this information, I'd be the same as you. It's like, well, this is what we're hoping for. Yeah. This is what we're working toward. And we can't make any promises. We're going to do as much as we can do.
Yeah.
But it takes a whole ecosystem chipping in to make big stuff happening. And that was fantastic grammar. Big stuff happening. Yeah, I talk good. But it does. It takes a whole ecosystem coming together. As we said back at the beginning, it can be really hard to get people together to do anything. And actually, Rachel, could you remind the folks out there what the 3 pillars of the Polari mission are?
Sure. This is not going to be the full verbiage, but stop the decline, create opportunities, and get everybody playing nice together.
Yes. And which one of those do you think is the hardest?
They're all pretty hard.
I would say getting everybody playing nice together, I think, is the hardest. And not, for what you might be thinking, I'm not being catty. It's not because everybody hates each other and they don't want to play in the same sandbox.
Yeah.
It's because it's hard to get a group working together. And then what we talked about with, not being sure of what the future holds, we're going to do what we can to stop the decline, which has been happening for almost 100 years here in our area right now. And we're going to do as much as we can to create opportunities. But there's a ton of work to do, and it takes lots of people doing their part to really do that. But we're trying. So, our mission isn't saying we're going to do everything and do it perfectly. No, we're just going to say we're going to do what we can, create ripples where we can. And so what we can do is the remediation of a building like 403 West 2nd Street in Oil City. And what all do we still need to do on that place? You mentioned the porch.
I did mention the porch. I haven't been up there in a while.
Fair enough. Well, earlier I said sometimes there's a hole in a roof. The house no longer has a hole in the roof. We patched that last year. At least we got that done. But the garage roof is caving in. So we're trying to evaluate whether we can save the garage. It's not original to the house. The house was built in the 1860s. The garage looks like it's from the early 1900s. But it's a cute garage. And it appears to be mostly structurally sound except for the roof that is completely caved in. But there's fixing up or tearing down the garage, tearing down the porch, and then starting to fit out the inside again, because we have I do need to get you up there again, because we've demolished most of the inside. I say we, I've been there doing a ton of the work, and it's actually our construction manager, Isaiah, who's been handling most of that. I help out from time to time. But he is the rock star when it comes to that kind of stuff, of making sure all that gets handled. And he handles the logistics of the dumpsters and all that, which is always fun. I mean, there are just a bazillion things that need to come together to get anything done. And then, then it'll be okay, either replacing the siding or sandblasting it and repainting it. And what about the windows? Are they, can they be salvaged, or do they need to be replaced? And, it's just kind of a never ending thing. And the hardest part actually is getting quotes, trying to get quotes for the work so that we know how much it'll cost, so that we can plan ahead. Because to apply for funding, you need quotes for that kind of work. To ask people to donate, they generally want to know, well, how much is this stuff going to cost? So, rough ballpark, if anybody feels like donating, if you've got a really big bank account and you just don't know what to do with all that money in there, we need roughly $200,000 to fully remediate this property and turn it into a $500,000 property. Again, $200,000 sounds like a lot of money, but when you get a $500,000 asset out of it, that is roughly a $300,000 profit that we can then reinvest into the next property or two. And that, if you go back a couple of podcasts, that's exactly what we meant when we said we're trying to create projects that create revenue streams. Because I don't know about you, but I hate writing grant applications.
And we can't be reliant on them because it's not consistent.
It's not consistent. It's not sustainable.
No.
And it's not how we think the stuff should be done. So we don't want to fall into that trap of relying on them. But yeah, if anybody wants to be a seed funder, you are more than welcome. please come to the engagement event that we will have sometime in the next month or so at 403 West 2nd Street in Oil City, Pennsylvania. Just watch this space or our socials to see exactly when that does get planned for. You can come. You can see the work that's already been done. You can see the plans for what we want to do. You can see the potential for yourself.
And you can ask us questions.
You can ask us questions. You can tell us what you think.
Yep.
Right? And hopefully you feel pretty confident that we will listen and we will do as much as we can with our opinions and yours. So until next time, keep talking, and we will see you for the next conversation.